In this video, we're going to be talking about the differences between a project and a product because they are two very different things. This is something specifically that I've been working on for quite some time, and I am so excited to talk about it in this video. We're going to be talking about the 5 things that really make this a project and this a product. It's really not going to be geared towards gaining a bunch of views. That brings me to my Pebble panels. These things are not going to be in the thumbnail of this video. They're certainly not going to be in the title of this video. There will be an entire video about these coming out later on the channel. So if you're subscribed and you're somebody who watches my channel often, you have a little bit of a behind the scenes of what's actually happening and seeing how it actually works out for me. I'm not manufacturing these at all. I came up with the idea. I came up with this entire thing that we're going to be jumping into. But when it concerns an actual product, you might see a few differences. The middle graphic is gone. This is all CNC engraved down here, and then the graphic, this is laser engraved down at the bottom. When it concerns these little side marking holes, that's done with a 60-degree V-bit, and these are actually pre-drilled because the manufacturer has a way that they can not only cut out all these holes in the shape, but also go ahead and pre-drill them all at the same time, whereas I would be in my shop and manually switching those bits for every single one of the things, which makes it not really a viable thing for me to do. So obviously, if you've bought the Maketember 2023 file pack, it comes with these in them. You can not only create those, you can create this template, which I'll be talking about in just a few minutes, and you can have this as a project at home, or you can sell them as a product out in the wild, and you can use all of this information for your own benefit as well. So if you've been around the channel for a while, you understand that I'm a big believer in abundance and having an abundance mindset. There's plenty for everybody out here in this world. And yes, there's certainly some things that are not worth talking about at certain times, but the truth is we all learn from sharing with each other. So that's what I'm doing here today. Okay, so let's jump into number 1. That's understanding pain points. For me, I actually care about this product. It's something that I really needed a few years ago. Hopefully I've got some old pictures that I'm showing right now, but in my old house, I turned an office into a home climbing gym. I took a bunch of plywood, I furred out the walls, I put it up, I drilled so many holes individually by hand because at that time I was somebody without a CNC machine, and I remember sitting on the back deck drilling holes thinking if I just had a CNC machine this would be so much easier. I even considered getting in touch with somebody, and I thought, to have somebody CNC cut all this, it would cost me thousands of dollars. If you go out and you look for project panels of people creating home walls and everything's just kind of cut out and done and ready for the customer to install on the wall, they're very expensive. If you've already checked out in the link below how much I'm charging for these physically, you might think, oh, that's a lot. Other of you might look at that and be like, wow, that's not that much at all. And that's kind of the boat that I'm in. Because when creating a project, especially something that's unique and might exist on the market but not in this form factor, you really have a choice. You can either try and create it as cheap as possible to undercut all of your competition, or create it as good as possible. For me, that's what I want to focus on. I always think that somebody can come in cheaper, especially when you're alone in your shop creating stuff. I personally wouldn't steer somebody towards creating the cheapest version of something because Target, Walmart, anybody else can undercut you. Certainly if you gain any traction and you even get to the point where you're selling it on Amazon, Amazon will immediately undercut you and make it cheaper because the majority of customers in the world are going to want something that's as cheap as possible. But the other customers want the thing that's actually going to work and it's going to have longevity behind it. So when creating this, that's what I was looking for, is high quality of a fix of an issue that I could personally find. And for me, that was creating small modular panels that had ample amount of mounting places, that used gym quality hardware and then used the highest quality plywood that you could possibly have. So you're making something that is a commercial gym quality product, but you're specifically telling people, hey, you can have this at your house. In my mind, at least, there's 2 different types of people that will be looking at these types of products. There is the home gym wall aficionado, somebody who actually climbs a whole lot, and they realistically want to put this up in their house to be able to use on a daily, weekly basis. And then there are the people who thinks it looks cool and they want to put it up in their playroom for their kids. I specifically am going to be installing this next month into my playroom for my child, and I'm super stoked about it because not only is it going to be something cool that I know that they can learn and grow on, and it's going to be rock solid, but it's also something that I can climb on too. And as we're playing in the playroom, I know that this will be able to hold me on the wall absolutely no issue. The other type of product that I'm offering is an acrylic template. So if somebody doesn't want to pay the upfront cost of having finished panels, and they think I can make that myself, and realistically they just need a template so that they can have a reliable shape and hole spacing, offering that as well. Because when you're looking at a DIY home wall system, you have to understand who your customer is. So when we talk about understanding the pain points, already having gone through the process of what it looks like to not have your product, I think is extremely important in understanding how to market your product and make your product the best way possible. So for me, we're going to have the T-nuts already pre-installed on this. If a customer gets this and they think, wow, this is great, maybe they buy 16 of these panels, each of them has 9 holes, and then they're thinking, oh no, all of a sudden I'm having to screw in hundreds of these little T-nuts into the back, and that can get very tedious. That can give the customer the immediate impression of, oh, well, maybe these were a little bit more expensive than I originally thought. So already having them pre-installed and taking that pain point away from the customer is a really big deal. Number 2 is size. When I was thinking about creating these, I was not only thinking about creating something small and modular, but also something that somebody could physically put up on their wall and take down just by themselves. If those panels are 2x4 or 4x8, you're probably going to have to cut those project panels. So maybe you first started off with a really nice shape and you bought 6 of them, maybe only 2 of them are still going to be that exact shape, and then the other 4 you're going to have to physically cut to fit your space. When looking at something like this, you can install these all over the wall, and you might only have to cut one of them, which takes up a fraction of the space that a larger project panel would. For me, that was a really big deal because when I installed my home wall, I had a large vaulted ceiling. There was a lot of corners. I really had to put things up on the wall, measure them, cut them a whole lot of times, put them back. I unfortunately had already pre-drilled all the 4x8 sheets, and I had a whole lot of cuts that were going through holes that were just wasted space. I was constantly going back, putting in T-nuts, taking them out. And like I said in the first, all those pain points, this size takes away a whole lot of it. So settling in at 16 by 16, not only is this a good modular size that is easy to carry, and if you moved houses, you could easily pop it off the wall and install it in your next home, but most North American homes that have wooden stud walls are on 16 inches on center, and this makes it very easy to install onto a drywall surface. I also have these that come along with it, so you can find your studs, install this directly on the drywall through the stud, and then you can screw these panels directly onto these little cleats so that you have a nice system that just repeats itself across the wall, and you're not putting a ton of holes in your wall. These also create a little bit of an air cushion behind the panel itself, so if your bolts, when you're installing them into these T-nuts, go through the material a little bit, you've got a little bit of cushion before it actually starts piercing your drywall. Specifically for these sizes as well, it makes it really easy to customize your needs. So obviously when somebody's installing this at home, they're not going to be in a commercial setting, which means that there's going to be normal home things on the wall, whether that's a light switch or a plug or any type of an outlet on the wall. It's going to be a lot easier to be able to customize your panels to fit over those things, especially taking your measurements, than it would be to have a very large panel. So number 3 is manufacturing. My Winfinity machine, awesome. It does so many things so well. And personally, I do think that if I buckled down, I could be in my shop and I could use my Winfinity and just crank these things out all day long and fulfill all the orders. But realistically, when I think about I'm selling these in 4-packs and what that would take in order for me to be able to go long term with this, I think it's really good to take a step back and think, how many of these things do I need to sell in order to make a full-time income? Go ahead, look at your personal life and think, this is what it takes, this is what it costs in order for me to live on a monthly basis. This is the amount of money that I need to make. And then break this down as far as cost and profit and think, okay, I need to sell X amount of these in order to achieve my break-even, head above water type of monetary goals for you specifically. Now think about realistically how long it takes to be able to make all of those things. All the effort that goes into it. Is weather any type of concern for you? I know for me, in my shop, it's not heated or cooled. Therefore, winter gets really tricky when you're specifically making tables, for instance, because the glue freezes and there's a lot of things that you have to think about. Well, table sales pick up specifically around the holidays, and that's when things start getting cold. So when I think about making these, I personally don't think that that's what I want to go after. So does this idea just not need to exist in the world? No. That's where third-party manufacturers come into place because they have so many other things that are working for them that make a product much more viable. They have employees, they have shops, they have multiple CNC machines. Orders that might take me an entire week to fulfill might take them just one afternoon to be able to fulfill based on the tooling and the equipment that they have. Certainly, I could scale things and grow them in my own personal shop and get to that point, and then hire people and have a whole team all in my backyard. I've even thought about that a whole lot. But the truth is, I personally have run a shop before with multiple employees. I know what that life looks like, and I personally, right now in life, am not really geared towards starting that up again. So for me, going to a third-party manufacturer makes perfect sense for where I'm at in life right now. Who knows, maybe in 10 years that changes and I start making physical products again, but for right now, where I'm at, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so number 4 would be hardware and installation. That's kind of a pain point that you realistically have to look at. If you watched one of my recent videos about those gear panel walls, you heard me talk about customer success and installation. That's something that I believe highly in, and it's something that most people really don't think about, and I think that if you have a really good process for customer success, you're not only going to end up with a happy customer, but you're going to end up with a customer that wants to tell other people about the process. So I'll be creating an entire video for this channel, and it's not even remotely going to be based on anything that I'm talking about right here with prices and pain points and this, that, and the other. It's realistically just going to be targeted at the people who might be looking to buy something or even build something themselves similar to what I have. So it'll be an entire video based on the installation process. Not only is that video going to be created for entertainment, but it is also going to have information in it. So hopefully anybody who watches it is going to think, oh, that's an approachable project that I feel like I could do at home. Now, there's some things that you realistically have to look at and think, is somebody going to know how to do this? When they get this and they install it on their wall, are they going to have an impact driver? Is that something that they're realistically going to be able to install on their wall and know that if a 200-pound individual is climbing on it, that it's not going to rip off and fall off? And touching on that, yeah, you also have to have a disclaimer for your products, and you have to think about all the things that come along with it. So once again, third-party manufacturer. That's not Hamilton Manufacturing. That's certainly not my LLC covering all of that. That's the third-party manufacturer who is covering all of the liability and all of the things that are wrapped up in what it takes to be able to get this as a product to a customer. I've thought a whole lot about what it takes to install these and make sure that the customer has success, but you would be silly to not at least think about the possibilities of how a customer is going to interact with your product. So all of the hardware that is installed on the back of these, they're going to come pre-installed. I really don't want the customer to have any type of negative interaction with these that they can't automatically think, oh, this is probably me that's causing this to not be as great as what I thought it was going to be. I want to have as finished of a product as possible so that they can get it, they can feel the quality of it, they can install it in an afternoon and automatically think, that's cool, maybe I should buy more of these so that I can cover my entire wall with them. Hopefully that's how it's going to work out. So number 5 is offerings. For me, I think that's really important to understand what your initial offering is going to be to your customer, and then possibly a year down the road how that offering is going to change and adapt and the accessories that you can offer with it. For me, I wanted to be able to start off with 2 things, well, specifically 3 in my case, but I don't think the majority of people are going to be buying the digital files, which if you bought the Maketember file pack, these digital files are included in there. So you can make these at home. You can even sell them yourself if you want to. But for me, I wanted to have 2 physical offerings that somebody could get. They could spend a little bit of money and then they could purchase 4 of these in a 4-pack that already have the T-nuts installed, and everything's just kind of ready to be thrown up on their wall in their own space. And then 2, they could go a much cheaper option and have an acrylic template where they can make these at home. This acrylic template affords not only the ability to save money, but also the ability to make panels of different sizes. They could put this down on a piece of plywood, draw it out with a pencil, and then stack it right next to each other. They could create panels that were 16 by 32. They could create panels that are 32 by 32, all off of this template, and they would have reliable and evenly spaced holes throughout their entire project, exactly where they want them. This gives a lot of flexibility to a customer, so instead of having somebody say, oh, well, I like the 16 by 16 panels, but that's a lot of screws that I got to put in the wall. I'd really rather have something that's 32 by 32. Instead of offering that as an additional product, that then you have to think about an entire different system for shipping because it's literally 4 times as big as this. You say, oh, well, we have these panels. If you want to be able to make your own custom panels, it is simple, it is a lot cheaper, and it's something that you can easily do at home. Certainly with a jigsaw and then a trim router, that's really all you need, and the correct size drill bit, which funny enough is 7/16 inch because these T-nuts have to fit very snug into these holes. So use a 7/16 inch drill bit to make sure that these fit as well as they possibly can. So earlier when I mentioned the type of people that would be purchasing this, not only people that are looking to install this as type of their playroom area, but also the people who might be climbing on a daily basis that want to put something in their home that is a really good system. I think that this is geared towards everybody, and I think this is geared more towards the people who are looking to save a little bit of money. The people who probably aren't going to go out and buy Baltic birch because it is more expensive. They're going to buy normal construction grade 3/4 inch material, and they're still going to be able to have a great quality product and save a ton of money in the process. Because when I create things, I first and foremost think about me. Would I be willing to pay that amount? Would I be willing to go through the process of being able to create something with a template? A few years ago, I would have 100% bought this template. Now, I would 100% buy the finished product. And I think that that's a very healthy thing to think about the offerings that you're giving your customer. Earlier, when I had mentioned these project panels, if you have that file pack, it also comes with a 16 inch by 16 inch square that is the exact shape and size of these panels. You could also have panels that were meant for climbing training that have the whole like pegboard system where you can go up and down using dowels. But for initial offerings, I don't want to confuse the process. That's something where if this does gain a little bit of traction, I might offer as something where somebody can purchase that as a separate add-on to be able to mix and match into their entire wall. Because like I mentioned, this whole system is super modular, and that's the kind of person that I'm wanting to buy this, is somebody who thinks, oh, I can install that at home, but it takes away so many of the pain points of what installation realistically looks like. Like I mentioned earlier, there are some differences, but realistically, this is as close to a final product as you can get, and then just adding in laser engraving and taking out a few things for time concerns really does turn it into something where I could see that at Academy Sports on the wall. In my life specifically, I want to do as many things as possible, and being able to offer up a product that is done through a manufacturer and something is kind of on the bucket list. So like I said, I don't think that this is going to take off and change my life by any means, but I do think that it's a process that's going to help me better understand how I should be doing things in my personal life. Because right now I'm 32 years old. By the time that I'm 64, I hope to have so many of these types of experiences in my life that have helped honed who I am and the type of life that I currently live. Because right now, the things that I find very important probably aren't going to be as important in 30 years. It might look a little bit different than where you currently are at in your life and your age and the things that you want to nourish and help grow. So it's really hard for me to directly make content that applies to everybody, but I do hope that it's helpful for some people out there. Because you might be at the exact same place as 50 years old, 80 years old, 20 years old. Age doesn't matter. It's really about your mindset and what you're currently trying to achieve. So I hope you enjoyed the little peek behind the scenes because, like I said, in a few weeks I'm going to be posting a video that is not geared towards y'all at all. It's going to be completely geared towards the people who might be interested in purchasing this. So I hope if you choose to watch that video, in the back of your mind you have a little bit of a feeling like, I know what's going on, because it would be so silly of me to not kind of share the process of what all this looks like. I learned a whole lot about that whiskey smoker video. I learned a ton about that whiskey smoker video because I made that video in haste. It was the third video that I posted about whiskey smokers on my channel, and I made that video because I knew that there were a lot of people that were consistently reaching out about specific things about whiskey smokers. So I had a lot of experience about it, and I fired off a ton of information, and then YouTube for some reason felt that it was good enough to be able to consistently push out to the masses. Right now it's at like 1.2 million views. It's by far the most viewed video on my channel, and when I look at that, I think, yeah, there's some good points in there for sure. There's certainly some things that I'm embarrassed about. There's other things where I think, oh, if I could just reshoot that video, I would have so much better information. I didn't even tell people what a whiskey smoker was in it. I think that might be the reason why I did so well, because so many people commented, I watched this entire video and I still don't know what a whiskey smoker is. And after having so many people purchase those files, which thank you so much, that is so awesome of y'all, and so many people using them, I've had people both comment, wow, I'm selling a lot of these, and I've had people directly email being like, you're a scam artist, no one's ever going to buy this. And it's really helped me form an opinion a whole lot on the type of content that I want to create, because for some people, some stuff's helpful. For other people, it's not. I think it's really easy for me to make videos about the things that I currently care about, the things that I'm currently doing, and I know that that'll apply to a few people. But when I do make those videos, it often, for some reason, upsets other people, and that's something that I'm currently working through. Like, even right now, as I'm saying all this stuff, I don't know if I'm going to keep this in the video or not right now. because this is the blunt, honest Hamilton that I personally think is helpful information, but it's also the thing that drives people away and causes people to not want to interact with the channel. So I don't know. I can talk all day long about turning a project into a product, but when turning the YouTube channel from a project into a product, still figuring out a whole lot about that. It's not physical. I don't understand all the pain points yet. I'm still working through all of that. Thank you so much to all my Patreon members. I really do appreciate y'all's constant support. I hope y'all know that it really does mean a whole lot to me, and that's not me trying to get more Patreon, more money, but more I really appreciate the thought process behind the monetary investment, because I haven't done anything with that money. It's sitting in the account. It is every month it's growing, and one day I'm going to pull that out and I'm going to make a cool video with it. This right here is how long it took me to shoot this video for filming, as well as how long it took me to edit this video. And I'm keeping track of this for every single video in 2023, so that at the very end of the year I can put it against the amount of AdSense income that came from this channel, so that I can figure out my hourly rate for YouTube. So if you're interested in that, I'll be coming out with a video detailing all of that and going over all the nitty-gritty YouTube details and all of my thoughts on having a channel and having it grow, and that video will be coming out in January of 2024, early January. So yeah, if you're interested in buying files, I have those for sale on CNC Later, where you can buy the entire Maketember file pack, which is going on currently right now if you're watching this in September 2023. Thanks for watching, and I will CNC y'all later. Bye.